So welcome to U-Systems podcast, Collaborate to Innovate. Next to me we have Christoph from Lonestar. Welcome. Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
No, thank you, Kate. Thank you for having me today. Really appreciate it. Here from Lonestar, I'm the CEO and founder. We're the company putting data centers on the moon for disaster recovery, resiliency as a service. And fantastic to be here today and to meet all the other members of the Legrand and US Systems and Upscale and everyone else. It's what a great team of people. Thank you.
There's a lot of us to get to know. So the starting question for all of my guests in this podcast is, what is the most pressing challenge for our industry at the moment?
Keeping up with growth. It has to be. I mean, data has become the most valuable, the most precious thing that the human race has created. It's driving our entire technological civilization. And we're using more and more of it, we're creating more and more of it every day. 2.5 quintillion bytes today more than yesterday, and it's doubling every 2 years. But none of that works, none of it exists if we don't have data centers. And if the data centers aren't keeping up with the demand, if we're not keeping up with the energy needs, and I think we see how crucial it is, but the people using the data centers, the cloud, wonderful people, but I don't think they appreciate the immensity of what happens to get that data to them in a usable format. So growth, it has to be growth.
100%.
We can't keep up.
I mean, I think a lot of people still think the cloud is a physical cloud of just fluffiness and rainbows.
We do occasionally meet people who think the cloud is still a cloud, and they're really quite surprised when we say, no, actually it's an incredible collection of amazing professionals who are like building modern cathedrals that power our entire civilization.
Yeah.
And it's in the warehouse-shaped thing over there. And they're like, what, really? And I'm like, yeah, really, that's how it works.
Yeah. It's a very beautiful industry, but it's not a beautiful building at times.
Well, we can change that.
Okay.
Right, so Bjarke Ingels and Martin Volk from the Bjarke Ingels group, the guys who were doing Olympus base for NASA, the designers, they did work in Hudson's Yard, the Toyota City of the Future, amazing architects. They actually designed the exterior of our next mission, our next flight.
Amazing.
And so Bjarke came in and said, are you going to 3D print it? And I said, why? And he says, well, if you do, I'll design it. I'm like, yes, we are now. And so, no, you can bring design, form and function.
Very nice. So what was your inspiration of your design?
Oh, to do this, it was customers.
Customers?
They came and said, look, some customers that we knew very well, said, we need help. And anytime a customer says we need help, the answer is always yes.
Yes.
And then when we found out what we actually said yes to, we were like, oh my gosh. Because we came out of the space and satellite industry. And we looked and said, okay, well, you have to store data somewhere off the planet. How do we do this? And we started looking at data and working with the customer base and then understanding just how valuable, how precious, agile yet fragile, and then throw in data sovereignty laws and the growth of the industry. And we were like, wow, it blew us away. We thought we were high tech until we met the data center industry. Right?
Okay.
And what we're trying to do is blend both of those, bring those two together, data and space, to give this really unique solution. But it was customers.
Customers?
Yeah.
So was customers the reason why you chose data centers to build on space and not, I don't know, a shopping mall or something like that?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Because it was how do we store their data safely, securely, accessibly, and under data sovereignty laws. And we've been doing that in space for a while.
Yeah.
But we tend to move data around space or move helicopters on Mars, right? We tend to explore or use it for communications. And what we said was, well, what about if we have data at rest? What if we just stop and store the data? Data sovereignty laws kick in, but we handle that with hosted payloads, like a colo.
Yeah.
We've been doing that for 30 years in space. Who knew? We had a solution that we didn't know we had until we talked to the customer and the problem.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of people will be shocked and surprised that the cloud is now the space,
Yeah.
which is a new phrase that I'm sure we'll all see in the next coming years. When you come to people that are worried or concerned about putting data on the moon, what would be your response to that?
Absolutely. We have the cloud on the moon now, actually. The first flight went up in February. It's interesting, right? Because we say right now, your data's down here on Earth where it has incredible value.
Yes.
And let's evolve to tool-using apes. Let's take a step back and say, okay, where can we store this? That's environmentally friendly, free energy, free cooling, that is far enough away, it's away from all the troubles that we have down here. And that's everything from human error to bad updates, all the way through to physical accidents and storms and weather and climate change and wars and nation-state attacks and nation-state intrusion on cable fiber and oh my gosh. So where can we send it that's ultimately serene and calm, that's using the very best of modern technology, and it surprised us when the moon was the answer. You know, we're space guys, right? I mean, our data guys too. Like I say, we're a data center company that's using space, we're learning. And we had the whole requisite, the whole list, we need this safe, secure, accessible, data sovereignty. And we looked at low Earth orbit, we looked at geostationary, where we spent most of our lives working. And we went, okay, but the cost, the problems with debris and things are happening up there, there's stuff that's going on, and we're like, oh, okay. But there is one that works, Earth's largest satellite. And I remember going back to some of our customers saying, we have a solution. And they were so happy. They were like, yes, this is great. What is it? What is it? And I'm like, it's Earth's largest satellite. And they're like, oh, like a Telstar 18, 19, a Jupiter, or what is this thing? You know, the big geobirds. Yeah. And we're like, it's the moon. And they were like, what? It's not the moon. It's the moon. It's the moon. And they were like, really? And I'm like, yes. And the moment of shock passed quickly, and they said, okay, tell us. And that's when we sat down with them and said, okay, here's the technical solution. Here's our providers. And we just signed up with Sidus Space to build our next set of satellites for us. Amazing. Spacecraft, incredible. And they said, okay, here's a solution. And by the way, we've been there for 60 years. There's over 150 missions going back in the next 8 years. You've got the Artemis program going back. The Chinese are there, the Indians, South Koreans, Japanese, Israelis are going back. We're back. We actually flew back on the first American return with Intuitive Machines. Nice. And so what was far away is also there, the night sky. And I'm like, your data's there. You can see where your data's being kept. It's nice and safe.
That's such a beautiful thing, because like we say, when you say everything's in the cloud, we just look up in the sky and it's nothing.
Thank you. Yes.
But now you can say, look, your data is safe, it's in the moon, and it's a beautiful thing to be there.
Yeah.
Cool. So when it comes to, obviously your mission requires a lot of partnerships. So what would you say is your number one trait when trying to find people to take this leap of faith with you and try something new?
Well, that's been the interesting thing. I mean, it's what we thought was going to be, we have an enterprise level product, we're working with Cadus Cloud Solutions, and with ultra scale as well. So when we go to a data center, we go down, we put a rack inside, and that has to be the most modern, cool, and efficient, because we're going to some existing data centers, secure data centers. But for us, for the customers, it's everything from peace of mind. They meet their regulatory requirements, they reduce their insurance and a whole bunch of other things. But at the same time, for our partners, our data center sales channel partners, they're gaining revenue. They're selling a premium product. And we do revenue sharing, of course. They're de-risking, they're adding a 9. So Scott Jernigan at Cadus was saying, oh, you're the plus 9. You're adding another 9 of reliability and a high security environment.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, thank you. We didn't see, like you said, the cloud, you go outside and you see the cloud is in space. And for us, it was always about data storage and data backup.
Yeah. It
was maintaining that premium critical data as a backup. We use SSDs, and so single solid state devices, so no moving parts in space, it's nice and easy. But we're able to keep that like bright data, not dark data.
Yeah.
And so for the customers, they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You're taking one of our multi-pool resiliencies and taking that off the map, you're adding a high security, you're adding a resiliency locally, you're reducing my OpEx, you're getting me revenue, and at the same time, you're handling an incredible legal and regulatory problem that I have, and you're protecting my data. I'm like, yes. And you're using 60 years of sunk investment in the space program to do it. And I'm like, yes. And then you go, take us through that again. And we show them the satellites, we show them the equipment, and we launched with SpaceX and Intuitive Machines, our first one this last February. The next one coming up is at the end of this next coming February, where we're launching an 8 terabyte drive with a polar-fired chip, doing everything from delay-tolerant networks for the Solar System Internet Group with Vince Cerf and his team, all the way through to Valkyrie intelligence, graphical knowledge databasing at the ultimate edge, and holding data for 6 governments.
It's just incredible. Talk about educating the market in what we do in terms of manufacturing cooling solutions. You're educating the world and the possibilities in the sky.
Yeah. Well, this is an option that's never been there before. And this is something that's why it's so unique.
Yeah.
The idea that we can now back up our data off planet, and we can do it so it sticks to our domestic rules and data sovereignty, but we do it in a way that actually reduces risk, reduces OpEx, and adds revenue. And I'm like, it's a thing of beauty. And that's what the space program does. If you remember that one thing in Armageddon, when Billy Bob Thornton turns around and goes, this is why we have a space program. And for us personally, this is why we're doing this.
Yeah.
The fear and the reality of data loss Now, we talk about a data loss so bad that it happened 2,000 years ago. It's still discussed today, openly. And that was the burning of the Library of Alexandria, about Julius Caesar's troops in the Roman Civil War, actually about 2,332 years ago. And we still talk about it, it's still taught in schools. I mean, the Financial Times had a whole piece on this a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Imagine if that happened today. And when you look at the cyber weapons, the NotPetya in 2017, that really kicked off all of this with our customers.
Yeah.
Weapons of mass destruction in the cyber realm, and what's happening around the world right now, and literally as we speak, is what's happening in Europe, what's happening in Asia, what's happening in Central America. Attacks upon data centers, attacks upon cable fiber, attacks, cyber attacks, physical attacks called hyper warfare. We call it exponential warfare. And the first thing you do if you take down a country is take down its data.
Yeah.
And
Data
we're there
is our money.
That's it. That's what we're there to ultimately protect against. COOP, continuity of operations. The state of Florida and Space Florida have been brilliant looking at this. They brought out the entirety of our first ever mission. They're on our next mission, and the mission after that. They're incredible. And they're saying that we have a growing state, we have all these hurricanes, we have all this technology, and we need to back ourselves up.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's what we're here for.
It's amazing. Okay. I do have a couple of quick fire questions.
No, go for it, absolutely.
You ready?
Thank you.
All right. What is your favorite word or phrase?
Back up.
Back. Oh.
There you go, not bad, right?
Like it.
Nice, good.
What are you most looking forward to?
You know, that is such an open-ended question, because Thanksgiving's coming up and I'm looking forward to that turkey.
Yeah.
No, Christmas, but I'm also looking forward to getting all this done. Right. We're just finishing out a financing round, hint, hint, and we're getting that done, which means we can get the first spacecraft built, and then I can actually sleep at night when I know the data's safely stored, and I feel like then that myself and our team, then we've done our bit for humanity.
Yeah.
We've helped the customer, and we're growing, amazing team. We've got Mark Matosian, our Chief Operating Officer, former Google Data Center Architect, all the way through to Steve Isley, former Head of Sales at Virgin, and he's our President now. We've got Jim Burns-Montante, former Draper, Honeywell, he's our Chief Engineer. Will Hawkins, very much from the data center industry. Commvault is our CISO and CDO. Carol Goldstein, our CFO, up in Manhattan, and she was the first ever woman VP at Morgan Stanley, created the satellite finance unit, and all of us look at this coming together of space and data as this ultimate, all right, we get to do something that helps our industry, that helps our customers, do well by doing well,
Yeah.
right? Do good by doing good.
Yeah.
But we actually make a mark, and we move that needle this way. We move the needle this way for the human race, and that's the whole point. And I look at the data center industry, and we were talking with the guys at Yottaverse, George Rocket and his team, DCD and everything else, and they were saying, what do you think? You're new to the industry. And I'm like, this is like modern day cathedrals. Like, the public don't get what you do,
Yeah.
but you are literally the foundation of our modern technological civilization, the first civilization in human history that can feed itself, educate itself, medicate itself.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a second renaissance, a digital renaissance that is powered by data centers and by data. They talk about a software-defined future, and I'm like, it's a data-defined world. And it doesn't exist without data centers.
No.
And it won't exist without backup. By the way, the more backup we do means the more space is available in data centers to do other work.
Yeah. And
Think
the
of
more
it that way
progress we
too.
can make.
Yeah.
I always have this argument with my sister because she's in the software and we're obviously hardware. And she's very much of the thought that software is the thing that's going to progress us. But I'm saying without data centers to support you.
Without hardware, there is no software.
No. So yeah.
Right.
Team hardware.
Yeah. So imagine that. Imagine looking up at I mean, already now you can look at the moon.
Yeah.
And UltraScale's logo was on the moon, by the way. We put that up last time. So that was kind of cool. We had to do that. But you look up at the moon and go, okay. The same way our data's safe. Our civilization is safe. You can look up at night and you see the International Space Station going over. And I grew up on a small island, the Isle of Man, beautiful place.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'd wake up at 3 in the morning, the fog would be on the beach, and you could see a single human being awake. And you think, am I alone in the universe, right? One of the Stephen King moments. But now, since 2000, we've had men and women from 15 different countries living and working together in space 24 hours a day. So no one's ever alone anymore.
Yeah.
And so you can walk up and you can see the space station go over. And the same thing when we put data on the moon. You know that there's active equipment.
It's safe.
And SSDs and space qualified. We're used to building things in space that last 15 to 20 years. without anyone going to fix it or turn things on and off. We have mission control here down in St. Petersburg, Florida, and mission control in other parts of the world as well.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's an elegant application of very modern equipment and modern technology, which we new use.
Yeah.
And that's why we have a space program.
Amazing. Okay. My next question, what do you wish you learnt sooner?
All right, the only limitations you have in life are the ones you choose to place upon yourself.
I like that. Very good phrase. All right. This one might catch you out. Do you consider yourself tech savvy?
I would normally say yes, but in a room full of these data center guys, I'm like, yes, I do. I like to. I've been tinkering with tech since I was a kid. I remember having some of the first ever computers. I had an Atari 360. I used to borrow a friend's ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64. I was coding in BASIC, and then I learned machine code, and then I just kind of lost it for a while. And so coming back to the coding world has been wonderful. Coming back to tech, but in the satellite and space world, we are tech. We're what they call natural first adopters.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, the latest tech, we will always have it. We're always playing with it. We love it. I love being tech savvy. I hope that's okay to say that.
100%.
I can nerd out. I can geek out. You know, so like John Morris, Michael Potter, and I, we helped found Geeks Without Frontiers.
Okay.
We geeks, big time. You know, we love all that. Exponential technologies. Oh.
Well, it keeps you youthful, doesn't it?
It does.
It's like you said, it's going back to being a boy and building computers.
My inner man-child. Yes, playing video games with my son. Yes. No, I love all of that.
Good.
Yeah, he's 22 and we still play video games together. Yeah.
There's no age limit with video games. I would
Thank
say
you.
that.
Yes.
And my final question is, what does AI mean to you?
Oh, the most wonderful vision of the future. It is a fantastic tool. It's like fire, bronze, iron,
Gold.
industrial revolution, modern compute, and now AI. I don't know it's large language models or small language models or bespoke language models. I know it's just Excel spreadsheets being run really fast, right? But the capability that this gives us as a species, it is like adding like Larry Niven and Jerry Pournelle would sort the third hand, the gripping hand. It's like having two hands and the third one pops up and you can do more. It's an incredible boost. It's a catalyst for the human race, for everything that we're doing. And to know that there's children being born today that will never know a world without AI, without a friend, without help, without the idea that someone is out there who's going to take what your thoughts are and just run them like a catalyst and just accelerate it. I love it. Oh, and for the industry too, what an opportunity. Just when we think we have it figured out, boom, out
We're near
comes
that
AI,
finish
right?
line and it's like, oh.
Yeah, and it's going to happen again and again. And this is this exponential age, the second digital renaissance. Change is happening fast. Was it Martin Rees, the Royal Astronomer, said there's been more change in the last 100 years than in the last 1,000. And I would say there's more change in the last single year than in the last 1,000. And it's going to keep accelerating and accelerating and accelerating. And I love it.
And you get to look at all of it from the moon.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. Think of all the energy and resources up there that we can now have access to, instead of doing things in the Amazon rainforest.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, finding out all sorts of really cool things about the Amazon rainforest at the moment. Oh my gosh, really cool stuff about who used to live there, what was happening there, and who built it. Note the word built. It's fascinating what's going on. And we're seeing that with satellites. LiDAR, satellite tech coming in, hyperspectral imagery, and the whole world. I love knowledge. I love this idea that everything's changing and being a part of that. And thank you for having me, because I love the data center industry. It's like my newfound home and tribe.
Oh,
all my space guys, they all love it too. They're like, oh, we can nerd out. I'm like, yes, we can all nerd out together.
Yeah, we all have it's like an open family, but in a way that we just want to progress the industry in the best way that we can. And that may mean disagreements in what we believe in different technologies, but I think at the end goal, like you said, it's all about progressing humanity in a way that we can make life a bit better for everyone.
Exactly. Every man, woman, child, and machine on the planet, as it benefits from data centers and the data center industry. Yeah. And thank you for having me, Kate. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for being my first guest.
Oh my gosh. Thank you very much. I'm honored, and on behalf of everyone at Lonestar, thank you.
Thank you.